Hey guys, happy Tuesday. We are going to go ahead and get started. I'm Amy Crane, Social Lab Marketing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm here every Tuesday, 2 p.m., 11 a.m. Pacific. So tell your friends, the more, the merrier. We took a break last week for Thanksgiving, so I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you got to relax, and I know I ate enough pumpkin pie to last me throughout the next year. So moving on, today we're going to talk about Facebook ad targeting. So over the last 2 weeks, I got a lot of emails, a lot of questions about, and they all seem to deal with targeting in one way or another. What type of targeting is the best targeting to be using? Should I be using interest or should I be using a custom audience? I'm not sure. How many people should I be targeting? Why can't I target certain pages? So I thought today, I know I've talked, specifically on how to set up a custom audience, but I wanted to go over all the different options that we have now so you know what's the best to use, when to use it, because it really depends where you are in your business, and that's going to affect what targeting options you want to use. So if you're just getting started, there's one type that's better to use, and if you're a little bit further along, you've got some more options. So a few years ago when Facebook ads were just getting started, we really just had interests in categories. So it was pretty easy. It was pretty simple. You knew exactly who you were going to target. And now they've introduced, we've got demographics, we've got behaviors, we've got custom audiences and lookalike audiences. So that's what we're going to go over today. And of course, if you have any questions as we're going, if you're here live on the webinar, you can type them into the chat box. Or you can always send me an email if something pops up later. It's hello@Social Lab Marketing. I love getting your emails and I love getting your questions. Okay, so we're going to start with some of the basics and then we're going to move to some of the more advanced stuff just because I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. So when you are sitting down to create your ads, whether you're just getting started or you've been running campaigns and this is just a new campaign you're launching, I always like to sit down, I try to get creative and I brainstorm because I want to figure out where my customers are hanging out. And I think especially if you've been running campaigns for a while, it's easy to use the same targeting over and over, especially if that's working well for you. But sometimes it's nice to kind of branch out and to think of, other places where our customers might be because they could be missing out on what we have and we have something that can help them. So I keep a running list. So on my computer, I keep my notepad up and I just have a list of targeting and it's just called targeting. And if I come across a website or a blog or someone that I think, my customers would be interested in, I just throw it on that list and I just keep a running list so that when I do go to create an ad or a new campaign, I can look at that list and kind of get some new ideas of different targeting options that I might want to incorporate. So to give you an example, if I'm typically running an ad for Facebook advertising, it makes sense to target the big shots, Amy Porterfield, Mari Smith, John Loomer, people like that. But what if I've got a free offer on list building? So maybe this time I want to target people that are interested. They like Aweber, Infusionsoft, Constant Contact, MailChimp, things like that, because they're obviously working on building their list. They like these pages. So that might be a different target group that I want to incorporate into this new launch. So try to think of it like that, because even though we all have a niche that we serve, within that niche, our products, it's like a niche within a niche, right? So we create certain products that serve us, a specific part of our niche. So where are those people hanging out? One thing I love to use is audience insights. This is new that Facebook rolled out a couple months ago. I did a full tour of it on the blog, so you can pop over to sociallabmarketing.com if you missed that. You can also use graph search. I don't know if people are still using this. I actually know some people that love to use graph search, but I prefer using audience insights. And when I say graph search, that's when you go to Facebook and let's say you wanted to go to the Social Lab Marketing page, and so you type Social Lab Marketing into that little blue search box up at the top of Facebook and it pulls up my Facebook page. If you typed in instead pages liked by people who like Social Lab Marketing, it's a mouthful, right? Hope you caught all that. It will pull up the top pages that my fans like. So it might pull up like Amy Porterfield or Social Media Examiner, stuff like that. So Before, it was a really cool way to search to find other pages to target. But now that we've got audience insights, I think it's easier. It's a lot more effective. There's some pretty cool things you can do with that. So get an audience insights and play around, see what you come up with. So when you log into your ads manager, these are the options you have for your targeting. And we're going to break all of these down. You've got your custom audience, you've got your location, age, gender. That's all pretty easy. Demographics or more demographics. Language, that's pretty simple too. Interests and behaviors. The only one that's not actually listed on here is a lookalike audience, but we're going to cover that one too. So we're going to break each one of these down, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how they work so you know how to use them. Of course, we start with our basics: location, age, gender. This is all pretty, up front. If you're a local business, you'll want to narrow down based on your city or your zip code or your state, whatever makes sense for you. Location, I always say this: if you are in online marketing, you're an online business and you can operate, United States, Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, that's awesome. Be careful though if you're going to include countries like China and India, just because they tend to attract a lot of spam bots. So be careful with that. Age, if you work with women 40 and older, you want to put that in. Gender, male, female, who do you work with? You guys got this covered. So interest is our first. This was, how everybody ran their Facebook ads for so long. This was, pretty much our only option. And this is where you get to target other Facebook pages. So you can go out and find your competitors. You can find businesses that are similar to yours. If there's a blog that people really like or a public figure that is in the same niche as you, you can target these pages with your ads. If you're just getting started with Facebook advertising and your business is new, maybe you don't have an email list, you don't have a lot of traffic to your website yet, this is where you start. You want to start with your interest. And it's a great place to start. You'll still see, your ads will perform well. You'll still have high conversion. So there's nothing wrong with interest. It's awesome. I still use interest every day in my ad campaigns. And like I said, this also gives you the opportunity to test out different groups, right? So if you want to, if you're thinking, you know what, I want to try and see if this group is going to be a good fit for my business, it's a great place to test it out and see if they respond to your offer. So if you're getting started, make a list. Make a list of about 10 businesses or pages, public figures, websites, whatever, that you think your customers are probably hanging out on. This is probably a good place for you to start when you're creating your ads. And it's really easy. You just type in the name of the page and it'll populate it for you. So the next one is categories. And this one I don't use, and I don't recommend using it. So categories, it's broad interest, so it's not as specific. And this is actually under interest. So if you're playing around in interest and you type in cooking, it'll pull up cooking. Now here's the problem. It will pull anyone that has ever shown an interest in cooking. Maybe they liked a random cooking page, but it's not specific. Maybe you have a blog about baking and it's pulling everyone. So it's not as specific. It could be people that like Italian food, people that like Chinese food, whatever it is. So it's not as specific. So your ads aren't going to be as effective. In traveling business, I see a lot of people that run ads, especially, in online marketing, that just target business. And it's like that. There's so many businesses out there and they may have no interest in your specific type of business. So that's why you want to use interest, because it's more targeted. You have more control. This categories is just really, really broad. So I don't recommend using it. Next up is demographics. Well, more demographics, because we've got our, age, sex, gender. And then if you click on more demographics, this is really cool. And this is actually one of my favorites. You can target based on workplace, education, job title, relationship status. I mean, there's so much cool stuff that you can do with this. So I recommend go ahead, pull up Ads Manager or Power Editor, whatever, and go through and start clicking on these as we're going through them, because I always like to go through. There's so many options, right, that sometimes I'll forget that you can target, based on whatever it is. So I think it's cool to go through, see what your options are. It might spark an idea, or maybe you didn't realize you could target this specific group of people. So it's pretty cool. So here's an example. When you pull up more demographics, so you've got relationship, you can target single people, engaged people, wedding, people that have just got married. I know if you get engaged on Facebook, you immediately get bombarded with ads about wedding stuff and photographers. But if you're a wedding photographer, that's prime spot for you. That's great targeting. Education, work, financial. If you want to target based on income, let's say you only want to work with people that make 100,000 and more, this is where you would select that option. Home, do they rent? Do they own? So if you're a real estate agent, maybe you want to target people that are renting so that when they are ready to buy, you know, you're right in front of them. They know who you are. Generation, parents, politics, life events. So there's some really cool stuff in here. So the next time you're setting up your ads, or, you know, just when you have a few minutes, go through and see what all of your options are, because it can really, really help you narrow down, especially if you're in a tight niche or it's a really narrow niche. This is where you're going to be able to narrow that down and really get it drilled down to where you want it. And our next is behavior. So this is one of those. It's really cool for marketers, but sometimes as a user, it's kind of creepy because Facebook has all of this information, all of this data on us. But basically, Facebook partners, they've got these third-party data companies, and they track our purchase behavior off of Facebook. So if you're buying a lot of home goods, or if you buy a lot of techie stuff, you buy a lot of gadgets, Facebook is collecting all of that data. If you just bought a new truck, that information is in there. So there's a lot of options in here that you can go through and take a look at and see if any of it applies to you. But like I said, they keep track of all of this stuff, which is pretty incredible that they're able to pull all of this data together. And if you're advertising on Facebook, it's there for you to use so you can become a better marketer. Here we go. So now we're going to get into custom audience and lookalike audience. If you're just getting started on Facebook, you need to start with interest so you can build up your list, build up your page, build up your traffic to your website. If you've already got a list, you've already got some traffic to your site, custom audience and lookalike audience will be the next step for you if you haven't used them yet. So let's talk about custom audience first. There's two types: email list, we'll talk about first, and the website custom audience. So basically with your custom audience, you can upload your email list directly to Facebook, and Facebook's going to match those emails with current users, and then you can actually show your ads to these people. If you have a small list, I think this is still the case. You have to have at least 100 people matched up on Facebook. So if you've got a list of 100 and maybe Facebook only matches up 50 or 75, that's not going to work. Facebook's not going to be able to create that audience. So you have to have at least 100 people. So once you've got a couple hundred people, 1,000, 2,000 people, then you can start to create custom audiences. It will match anywhere, you know, it can match up to 70% of your list. It really depends on your list and, you know, what email those people are using. So you'll upload it to Facebook, it'll start to match up those users, and it'll tell you how many people are in that list. But the great thing about custom audience, this lets you show ads to the people that are most likely to buy from you. I know I'm on a million different email lists, and I don't always get to read every email that comes in my inbox. Maybe I read 1 out of every 4 emails that I get from a specific person or a specific list. But if I see that ad on Facebook, maybe it's something I missed in my email, but I see the ad on Facebook and I think, you know, oh my God, I got to go check this out. I don't want to miss out on this. It's just another way to stay in front of your customers and to reach them in case they aren't getting those emails in your inbox. It's also just a great way to keep them up to date on promotions, sales, events, anything that you've got going on. So you can see it's a really, really powerful tool. And if you missed it, I did a whole webinar just on custom audiences. So if you pop over to YouTube/Social Lab Marketing, there's a video there where I walk you through exactly how to set all of this up. So if you're ready to set up your first custom audience, you can walk through that video and I walk you through everything. Oh, we went the wrong way here. The next custom audience is your website. And when you set this up, Facebook gives you a pixel to install. It needs to go on every page of your website, which can be, I don't want to say it's time consuming because the whole process should take you less than 10 minutes. But if you're not techie, you don't want to deal with the back end of your site, Facebook gives you the option to just email the piece of code straight to your web person or your developer, and they can install it for you. And like I said, it's really easy. It's just a matter of copying and pasting it in the right place. But what this pixel does is it pulls all of the people that have visited your website so that you can target them on Facebook. So it's really cool because this is a great way, one, to bring back lost customers. So if people hit your website, maybe they got distracted. I know I do this all the time. I'll find a cool website. I'm reading their blog post. I think it's awesome. And then, I get distracted. I find another website. I'm doing some work and I completely forget about that website. Well, if they've got a website custom audience going, hopefully they'll show me that ad on Facebook. So when I get onto Facebook and I see their ad, I'm like, awesome, I totally forgot about this website. I'm so glad that I saw this. I'm going to go get on their email list. So you see how that works. It helps bring people back, especially if people are just visiting your website for the first time. It's a great way to bring back lost customers. So if you're trying to sell something, if you're an e-commerce site, if you've got a product or promotion going on, maybe somebody hit your website and then they bounced off. So it's just another way to stay in front of your customers. You can target specific pages of your website. So if you want to target, maybe you've got a specific product page and you just want to target people that have looked at this specific product, you can. If you want to target people, that looked at your about page for whatever reason, you can do that too. So there's a lot of options here with custom audiences. And the great thing is these people already know you, they already like you, they already trust you. So it's a really strong targeting group already, especially if you're going to try to sell something. This is probably your best group to sell to. So that's why you want to build up that list. You want to build up that traffic so you have a really strong custom audience that you can use in your targeting. So once you've got your custom audience set up, then you can start to create lookalike audiences. What? It keeps going the wrong way. Here we go. And that way. Okay. So when you use custom audiences, you can choose to create a lookalike audience that targets people who are similar to your custom audience. So lookalike audiences help you reach people who are similar to your current customers. So remember how I mentioned under behaviors, Facebook has all this data on us. They know exactly what we're doing. They know what pages we like. They know what actions we take. They know if we like to shop, if we don't shop, if we like to sign up for emails. I mean, they know everything. So they're able to pull this data. Let's say you uploaded your email list to Facebook. So it has your Facebook or your email list, and it's able to pull the data from those users and match them up with other users on Facebook that are similar. They like the same things, they take the same actions, they're signing up for the same list, they're buying the same product. So it's basically a duplicate of your list, but these are people, for whatever reason, you may not be reaching them already. Now there's two things you want to keep in mind when you are setting up your lookalike audience. You've got two options. You can set up an audience based on similarity or reach. And I'm going to give you the differences, and I'm going to tell you which one I prefer. Similarity is going to match the top 1% of people on Facebook who are most closely related to the people in your custom audience. So it's going to pull the best of the best. These people, they're pretty much the exact same people on your list. They like the same things. They take the same actions, they buy the same stuff. It's pretty much just a duplicate of your list. It's how I like to look at it. And this is the one I always go with because it's a very targeted list. It's only pulling the people that are the most closely related to your list right now. So if you've got a really good list that they respond, they like you, they trust you, you should have a really great lookalike audience. Now the next option is, sorry about that, is reach. And this is more broad because it targets 5% of users. So Facebook will find more people who are similar to your existing custom audience, but the match will be less precise. So you'll have a bigger audience, you'll have a bigger list to pull from, but it's not going to be as targeted. So this is why I always go with similarity over reach, because anytime I have the option to go after a more targeted list, that's the one I'm going to pick. And I've never tested reach. So if you've tested it and you've gotten better results, I'd love to hear about that. And test it out for yourself if you want. But like I said, I always pick the more targeted option. So for me, reach never even made sense to use. I always go with similarity because they're pulling the best 1%. I'd rather have the best 1% than 5%. And typically, if you've created a lookalike audience before, they're pretty large. I mean, there'll be 1 million people, 2 million. It's a large group of people. So it's not like if you select 1%, you're only going to see 100 people. It's a pretty large target group. So you don't have to worry about, missing out on anything there. So that's my opinion. Go with similarity over reach for your lookalike audience. So one of the questions I get asked a lot too is, how many people should I target? What's my audience size? And I sat down and I thought about this because I always used to tell people stick around 500,000. And I went back through my ads and I took a peek at some of my ads that performed really well just to see how many people I was targeting. Some of my older ads, they were around 500,000. But I've noticed here in the last couple of months at least that I'm targeting more people. And I think it's because Facebook pages are growing so fast these days. So a page might have 10,000 fans one day, and then a couple weeks later, they've got 30 or 40,000 fans, right? So because the Facebook pages are getting so big now, it makes sense that our audience size is bigger. So keep this in mind though. When it gives you that number and it says you're targeting 500,000, that's just the potential that you could reach. And a couple things that are going to affect this number: you're targeting, how responsive is that targeting group? Your budget's going to play a huge role in this. Obviously, the bigger your budget, the more people you'll reach, right? So if you're spending $5 a day versus $100 a day, you're going to reach a lot more people with $100 a day. Your ad type also affects. If it's a like campaign, those tend to see a higher reach because it's a simple action. They're just clicking one button. They're just liking your page. So you tend to reach more people with that than, let's say, a website conversion, or if you're trying to actually sell something. So those are all things you want to keep in mind. And like I said, so now I would say most of my ads target around 700 or 800,000 people. And I had one ad that was performing really well that targeted 1 million people. And like I said, when you pull a lookalike audience, chances are you're going to be over that 1 million mark. So I think it makes sense to target. And sometimes you can just type in, a couple pages and you're at 700,000 in no time. So this is what I have to say. As long as you're really clear on the pages that you're targeting, that they're good pages, that that's where your fans are hanging out, where they are, people that they're going to like, I wouldn't go crazy and have, 20, 30, 40 pages targeted, right? Keep it tight, keep it small. And if you start to get up to like 2 or 3 million, I would probably split it off into another targeting group. But it does seem to me like I'm sticking around. I'd say 800,000 seems to be about the average for my ads, especially the ones that are performing really well. So like I said, I used to throw out the number of 500,000, and I'm taking that back now. I think you can go higher than that. And my ads don't seem to be affected by it. But like I said, I think that has a lot to do with the growth of Facebook pages and how fast pages grow these days. When Facebook was just getting started, if you had 1,000 fans, that was a big deal. And now if you don't have 10,000 fans, it's like it's amateur hour, right? So, and always keep in mind, Facebook is going to show your ad to the people that are most likely to perform the action that you're optimizing for. So that's why your reach might be smaller or larger, just depending on your campaign. Okay, but that number really is just your potential reach. Chances are you aren't actually going to reach that number. But Facebook does a pretty good job of picking out the people that are going to convert, especially if your ad's performing well. All right, so the last question I get, now I love this question, and I don't know why Facebook hasn't fixed this yet, but why can't I target certain pages? This was an email that I got. This has always been an issue. I mean, I remember this being an issue forever. You've got a list of Facebook pages you want to target, and I'm talking about interest. So you're typing these Facebook pages into your interest, and there's a page you can't target. It's not pulling it up. It's just like it doesn't exist. So basically what Facebook tells us is that there's an issue with indexing because there's so many Facebook pages that exist. When it goes in and indexes all these pages, I don't know if there's a glitch or if it misses some. I'm not really sure. I mean, there's one page I've been trying to target since I started running Facebook ads, and I still cannot target it. So you might notice that you can target one page one week and then the next week it's disappeared. A couple things you can do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Keep an eye, actually go to their Facebook page. So for example, if you want to target Tony Robbins, everybody knows Tony Robbins. His actual Facebook page is Anthony Robbins, that's what it's called. But if you type in Anthony Robbins, that doesn't come up. You have to type in Tony Robbins. So go to the actual Facebook page and look at their link where it says facebook.com/ see what they've got there, copy and paste that or put that into interest and see if that pulls it up. Make sure you've spelled it right. Make sure they didn't add an extra word like a the or, whatever. Sometimes that will fix it. Sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, it's just a glitch with Facebook. It's really annoying, but some pages you just can't target. But there's no option to block your page from being targeted from ads. So that's not the issue. I had someone asked me that too, but you can't get on like a do not target list or whatever. It's an issue with Facebook. It's something that, their system, their fancy numbers that they're running and everything, it's just not pulling all those pages. So just test it out. Maybe in a couple weeks it might pop up, it may not, but make sure you're spelling it right. Make sure you've got the right page name in there. That's pretty much the best you can do with that. All right, so that is everything I have got for you guys today for targeting. So just keep in mind, if you're new, you're just getting started with Facebook, focus on interest. Find, I don't know, maybe pull a list of 10 pages to start with and play around with and see what kind of response you get from those. If you're a little bit more advanced and you've already got an email list, you've got some website traffic, play with custom audiences and especially lookalike audiences. I feel like a lot of people forget about lookalike audiences or they're not really sure what to do with that. It's really simple. You create it and that's your targeting. You're good to go. You can narrow it down more if you want to, but Facebook's pretty much done the work for you. So I would just let it run. So yeah, that's it for today. If you've got any questions as you're setting up your ads or something's not making sense, shoot me an email, hello@Social Lab Marketing. I love getting your emails. And if you need help or you've got specific questions you want answered, you can send me an email and we can set up a time to talk. I'm more than happy to help. Let's see, we got one quick question about budgeting. So we're spending $5 a day. What would the smallest budget I could set that would allow me to grow my targeted audience and email list by 100 people? So I think you can run a successful campaign for $5 or $10 a day. As long as your targeting is good and your free offer, your offer is good, especially if you're building your list. So those are the two key things. So running a $5 a day, you can add 100 people to your list, no problem. You can estimate, I always tell people, you're probably going to spend about $1 to $3 an email, depending on how well your ads are performing. So you can kind of take that into an account when you're creating your budget. So if you get it down to $1 a day, you can spend $100 and add 100 emails to your list. If you're not getting $1, maybe you're spending closer to $3, you'll have to spend a little bit more. But that's just to give you an idea. But I absolutely think you can run a successful campaign on $5 a day, especially if that's what your budget is. Just stick with it. Just get those people on your list and really work to make your ads as effective as possible so that you're getting the lowest cost, but you're getting the most conversion. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, don't think you have to spend $20, $100 a day to get real results. You can spend, for the first few months I had my business, I just spent $5 a day. So there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, 100 people, you can expect to spend about, I'd say $100 to $250 to grow that list to 100 people, depending on your niche, depending on your free offer. So there's a couple little variables that go in there, but I would say that's about the range you could expect. So I hope that that helps. And we're at 2:30. So that's it for this week. We'll be back next week. Like I said, send me your questions and we'll have a completely different topic next week. And I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week. And I will see you next Tuesday. Have a great week, everybody.